Thank you. You're far too kind. Yeah. Ready? Let's go. Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn boys. So for one last time, I need y'all to roll. Yeah. Now what the hell are you waiting for? After me, there should be no more. So for one last...
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the 5 Point Play podcast, the Die Hard Duke Basketball Fans podcast. What's up, Pops? How you feeling, brother?
Man, feeling great, bro. Other than this damn sty trying to grow on my eye, bro, I'm doing good, man. You know what? I'm gonna move my location downstairs real quick.
Fair enough. Them joints are the worst.
Downstairs. Give me
Gotcha.
one second.
Gotcha. No problem at all. I just want to talk to the people. First of all, welcome to the off season. As you would expect, things are a little less frequent just as news kind of slows down, but there's no shortage of things to talk about today. Kind of wanted to highlight a couple of things that I'm sure we love, Scout Pablo's perspective on. First of which, I think is the most pressing issue for most Duke fans is John Blackwell going to be Cedric Coward 2.0, or will we actually see him at Duke? And then also, secondly, I kind of want to touch on the topics of, with Evan Bratz being gone, what kind of things did he provide to Duke that Duke needs to be thinking about, or that Scheyer needs to be thinking about as it pertains to, the open coaching vacancy. We can talk a little bit about Duke non-con schedule, and then talk about, this is something we talked about in the group chat, but like your case for why, Cam Boozer can go number one. And we've already started to see some of the narrative changes happening. But first of all, I kind of want to welcome everybody here and kind of get your thoughts. First of all, I think the most pressing issue is the Blackwell situation. So what are your thoughts on how John Blackwell performed, particularly in the combine setting, the full kind of pros and cons, I'd say. And then secondly, do you see him returning or fulfilling his commitment to Duke, or do you think that he's out of here?
I'll answer both of those, but I think that I haven't watched, I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch none of the combine, and I do that for a reason. I don't normally watch the combine because too many narratives fly after the combine, and it's like, just from a scout's perspective, right? And just from a basketball perspective, right? Mm-hmm. How much more do you think the NBA needs to see, from these guys? You know what I'm saying? Like they already know what they know. They've gathered all the information. So a guy scoring 30 points is not going to mean anything to them. It's not going to mean anything to the NBA scouts, and it's not going to improve or decrease draft position or nothing unless you're playing in that damn South Wyoming Wesleyan and they ain't never see you play with guys and they like, hey, we want to see what he could do, and nobody has any film on you type thing. That can change. But a guy like, like John Blackwell, who led a high major program, to a deep run in March, like who did his thing, they got all the information they need on him. So I can promise you, him having a good game or a bad game does nothing to his draft position. Does nothing.
Got it.
So
real quick interjection right here, Pablo, because I think I want to get your thoughts on this, because what you said was, scouts have all the film that they're going to need. One particular performance in the draft, combine or otherwise, is not going to necessarily move the needle. And my question is, what's the difference then between a situation like John Blackwell potentially and a situation like Cedric Coward? Because, if we recall, like last year, like he was pretty much like he wasn't on anybody's draft board for any particular reason. Yeah. And then Duke got the offer, and now all of a sudden he has several, good performances. His measurables are great in the combine setting. And now all of a sudden he's a lottery pick, right? Like what is the difference between the two of those guys?
So it's a combination of things for Cedric Coward's case, right? You got to understand, wasn't a lot of film on Cedric Coward due to him having an injury-plagued season, right? So they want to see, is he healthy? You know what I'm saying? Those are things that they can measure on these players. But as far as can he play in a team setting, how elite of a shooter he is, how athletic he is, they have all that information. You know what I'm saying? I think the only thing that you get out of the combine is you see stuff like, can they play a secondary role and not be the man because a lot of these guys they're the man on their teams, and then they got to play against play with a bunch of guys they have no idea who they are, or they know who they are, but they've never played with these guys, so they want to see how they how they're able to integrate themselves in into a team environment or whatever. But I think that's the biggest difference between a Cedric Howard and a John Blackwell. There was plenty of film on John Blackwell. He didn't really go through injuries and all this other stuff. They've seen him lead his team the whole year, as opposed to Cedric. I haven't played a lot of games at all where he can play. He's talented, but we haven't seen him on the court in a while. So we want to get an updated look at him. So I think that's the biggest thing. And, I think all this combine stuff and the measurements and all that stuff, that's all fan stuff. That's all for the fan. They get excited for that shit, man. And I just be sitting back and just like, dude, 19 for 25 and 3-pointers. And I'm like, okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't really get too hyped about
nothing in the game.
Yeah, I'm like, who's guarding? Who's out there guarding him? He's just shooting in the gym. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No defense on him. You know what I'm saying? But then, the people who really are shot makers out there are, perform okay in those type of drills, but they are elite in the game situations. So
Khan's a great example. Khan didn't
as far as John Blackwell.
Yeah, Khan was similar, right? You there? Pablo, you there? All right, while he's figuring that out, I think the other piece that I kind of want to highlight is like Khan was similar, right? Khan was
the internet cut out for a little bit.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, you back. But Khan was a perfect example.
The internet cut out for a little bit, so I didn't hear nothing you said, bro.
No problem. I was just saying that Khan is a perfect example of one of those situations, right? Where he was a person who didn't wow shooting wise in the combine. Now he's one of the top 3-point shooters in the league the following year. Because and it didn't affect him much because you had enough film and enough background information to know that when the lights are on, he's going to perform well.
Yeah, nah. I just looked at my phone. I got a crazy message. Anyway, yeah, nah. That's just how it go, man. Like, and I just think that fans get way too wrapped up in this stuff, man. Like, John Blackwell have a good game. Oh, he's gone. All this stuff. I'm like, shut the hell up. It's like the same thing I see. Like, like these people like stalk these players' social medias, bro. Oh, he's following this guy. He's following that guy. I'm like, how do you even check for something like that, bro? Like, I didn't even know you could check that shit. You know what I'm saying?
You can. For sure.
Like, wow, that's crazy, man. Some of these fans gotta just chill out for a little bit, bro. Like,
yeah,
it's just not that serious, man.
It doesn't have to be. I think when it comes to the combine and like whether a player is staying in the draft or returning, I think that's a different scenario than a guy being recruited, right? Because I remember there have been 2 situations where I've seen with John Blackwell in particular where social media has been used to from a fan perspective of being evidence whether they're coming back or not, or being recruited or not. I remember as an example, when various members of the Duke social media team and the different players were following him, that was an indication to a lot of them of like, okay, there might be some camaraderie being built there so that those guys are already beginning to build relationships, right? I think that's different than, John Blackwell being out in LA with Cedric Howard and a couple other guys and, them feeling like, oh, he's out there with Cedric Howard, so now all of a sudden he's not going to return just because he's with him at a game somewhere, right? I think that's a different scenario.
Yeah, nah, for sure, man. And I just think people get wrapped up too much in that, man. Way too much, because like a lot of these things they're not even indicators of anything. You know what I'm saying? Other than just regular, day-to-day movement. Hey, what's up, baby? How you doing? Yeah. Okay. Love you. Anyway, yeah, that was my beautiful wife just got home, so shout out to my wife. But anyway,
love to see it.
Yeah, nah, man. Those things are just, I just don't know why people, and it's funny because those type of things, man, they like drive so much traffic in like group chats and like like Duke chats and stuff like that. I'm just like, oh my God, bro. Like, oh, that shit is so annoying to me, bro.
We look for everything, man. Like, I mean, you know, the good and the bad about being a fan of this particular team is a lot of our fan base is, I'd say
Delusional.
this way, like delusional for sure, but also more tapped in than the average basketball fan is going to be to their teams, right? Like, you know, I think we take every little small nuance of everything and try to project that out to stuff. And I think that, and in some ways it's good because I would say overall, Duke basketball fans have a heightened awareness of basketball things than your average college basketball team in some cases. We're much more able to articulate certain things. Now, sometimes we be delusional, right? We don't have any idea what we're talking about in certain cases, but we have an awareness of like certain basketball terminology, what things we're looking for, you know. But on the other end of that, right, is when it goes too far, is we start really trying to interject ourselves in the lives of teenagers, and that's when it gets crazy.
That's when it gets crazy because I think it just drives. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just think it drives. It just makes it's just too much paranoia, bro. It's so much paranoia that, you know what I'm saying. It almost removes logic from the conversation. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, dude, just chill, bro. Just chill. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. You putting hard eyes under his an emoji, you know, under his picture, or DMing him is not gonna change whether he commits or doesn't commit. If he goes 30 in the draft, you know, second round or whatever, it's not gonna matter, bro. So like, let these kids do what they do, and it just, I don't know, like people like getting like legit arguments and all these other things because of a player that we have no control over, and we really don't know what they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? And if they do something that's opposite from what these, you know what I'm saying, what these fans want them to do, then, you know what I mean, the player is dead to them. You know what I'm saying? And
they're not
here
turn
comes
on them.
You know, here comes the pitchforks and you know, burning crosses and shit. So it's just like, man, I don't know. That shit, it's just crazy to me, man. I just try to remove myself from those type of conversations because I think it's just whack. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not cool with that. But
I hear that. Anyway. I hear that. But I do understand. Like, I definitely understand your point. I also understand for a team base, for a fan base as fervent as we are as a group, understand what kind of team we're going to have is an important thing, because in some cases, you know, in some cases it helps, you know, fans to buy it to the level set their expectations, right? Is this a team I need to be excited for, or isn't it? And in a case like John Blackwell, he is the kind of player that can significantly increase both the floor and the ceiling of next year's Duke team. So, you know, nothing is guaranteed, right? Like we've seen crazier things develop and stuff like that. But what is your general sense of the John Blackwell situation, how it pertains to whether he'll be in Durham next year or not?
I mean, I think he'll be at Duke. I mean, I have no doubt that he'll be at Duke. I mean, I'm a firm believer that that's what's going to happen. And just like you said, you know, all the while it does, you know, heighten our floor and our ceiling, if he doesn't, you know, for some odd reason, if he doesn't come to Duke and stays in the draft, I think we'll be all right.
Right, we still taken care of.
You know what I'm saying? Like the amount of talent that we have on the team, and that's not no hit on him or anybody else. You know what I'm saying? But I think I don't know, man. I just think that I'm a firm believer that we'll be okay. You know what I'm saying? If he doesn't,
I mean,
but I mean,
just means that Bryson Howard is getting a big role.
I want him to be at Duke. I 100%. Do want him to be at Duke for sure. But if he doesn't, you know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We roll. We're gonna roll the ball out. We're gonna hoop. We're gonna do what we do. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna need the freshmen to step up. So, but other than that, you know, that's how I feel. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. John Blackwell will be at Duke. You know what I mean? You don't have to stare at the mock drafts and be like, "Oh, it's good. He's not in the mock draft at all, or he's not predicted to be drafted. So that's good." Like you just wasting time in your life, man. Like just let the shit play out and just cheer for the team 100%. At whatever position that they may be in. You know what I'm saying? And and it's tough to say that, but because you know who the hell am I? I can't just tell people what to do. But I mean, just don't be annoying about it. You know what I'm saying? Like just cheer for your team, bro, and let's rock. what I'm saying? Go
Yeah.
Duke.
100%. And then at the end of that, for me, right, both you and I are fathers. We talk about our children, right? If there was ever a situation to where they had the ability to achieve their dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what what a fan base has to say about it. If there's a situation we have the opportunity to do that, all of us as parents, and for all of us to have loved ones of any kind, we'd want them to pursue that to the fullest extent that they can, so that they can make an informed decision, right? And ultimately, as a human, setting my Duke fandom aside, you can't be mad at that, or that's not something I would get mad at or be hung up on. Is what a 20-year-old is trying to do with his life. Like that's his and his family and his team's decision. And if it turns out that he doesn't come to Duke, it is what it is. I also get the sense that he's going to be in Durham, but if he's not, that just means it's Bryson Bryson Howard time in a major way. And I mean, it's always going to be always going to be Caleb Foster time. So that just gives them a bigger role, and I don't think that should hinder Duke from being a quality team. It just changes up what the complexion of the team looks like, and that's any team. An injury could do that. Grades could do that in situations like that in college.
Yep. And I mean, I would even argue that it would honestly, let's say, like, I'm not saying I don't want him to come. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But pause. That was crazy. But you know what I'm saying? If he it was some chance that he didn't, end up at Duke, right? I think it would make John Scheyer's job a lot easier.
That's
as far
fair.
as the rotations and everything. But that's a whole different conversation. We're gonna save that for another pod.
Yeah, about to say we could have that conversation about the decisions that John Scheyer has to make, right? And I mean, we could dive into that if we felt necessary. I mean, there's lots of things that we could talk about. I mean, there is a such thing as having a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but also that's something that you want in a situation like that. The good part about it is, John, I think the part where it becomes an issue for me, generally speaking, is if John was the kind of coach that sold dreams. Right.
Yeah.
There's a situation where he walked into the meeting with Caleb Foster or Bryson Howard and said, "Yo, you got to start. You're going to be a starter next year." And then all of a sudden, you got 5 guys in rotation in the 1 and 2 spot. Right. That is a situation where I'd be like, "All right, man, what are we doing?" But John's not the kind of guy. We've talked about that extensively on this podcast and in other spaces. John is not the BSU type of person. He's gonna he's gonna tell you what it is and what it is not. He's gonna keep you. I'm a firm believer. I have no reason to doubt that he keeps every player informed of any decision that he's gonna make that could affect them, so they can make an informed decision. Their families, their parents, their teams. He seems like a transparent person, while also being a person who says, "Listen, this is what's best for the team, though, and I want to give us the best opportunity to win a national championship. That's my job, and I would love to have you here to bring this thing, and this thing." But also make the best decision for you. And if you have to make a different decision, I'll help support you any way that I can. Right. But he has some decisions to make, Blackwell or no Blackwell, he's got some decisions to make. And I think that's what we want if we're Duke fans, is we have the right guy to make those decisions. He's proven that he has the ability to make those decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm with him on that, man. I mean, accountability, hold people to the highest standard. He's held to the highest standard. John is. Why wouldn't he hold his players to the highest standard? Informing them on everything, keeping them informed. Open communication. It flows both ways. So, I think they do a good job of that over there, and I'm sure he's very, very transparent. With guys in these moves. But that's exactly why you don't see a bunch of guys transferring out and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's because of how he runs the program, the transparency and everything. You don't see a bunch of guys doing that. You might have your 1s or 2s every year, but the writing was on the wall for some of those guys. And I get it. Shout out to them. Shout out to Darren. Shout out to Nick. I hope they kill it. I hope they do well. If we ever cross paths and we play against y'all, I hope you have the worst game of your life.
Worst game ever.
That's fine. You know what I mean? That's
0 for 20.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, for real
Absolutely.
Rap. So, but whatever. Moving on.
I mean, speaking of that, though, right? Like we're thinking about the Dukes. Since we last had a conversation on the podcast, there have been a couple of non-conference announcements being made. The first of which was a confirmation of things that I think people have been talking about and speculating on for the last year. Is the UConn, I guess not even home and home, but like just just setting up that non-conference dynamic, and then also the Illinois home and home announcement, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that Scheyer is gonna do is he's not gonna run from the smoke, dog. He don't care where you play. And again, the idea of the UConn, I think it's the UConn game in Detroit. But I know there's a game in the non-con that's in Detroit,
so. I believe it was.
And that's the Final Four location, right? Is the Detroit the Final Four location this year? So again, that's big brain on Scheyer of like wanting to play these national championship.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like being able to play these games in these venues so that they're used to the stage, right? So that there's nothing that is new for them. What do you make of the UConn scheduling, finally getting them on the schedule so that, you know, a lot of the Duke and UConn fans that have been somewhat adversarial over the last several years will finally get that matchup in the regular season, and then the Illinois matchup. What is your sense of those games, and then what it can mean for all three teams involved in those games?
Yeah, so I just want to be clear when I say this. I wish everything bad on UConn.
Word.
You know, with the exception of death, obviously. You know what I mean? With the exception of death
and injuries.
But
death and injuries we don't advocate for.
Never, and I'm not gonna front, I have never in my 47 years of living met a UConn fan ever. Unless I was in
like in real life.
Like in real life, unless I was in Connecticut. You know, I spent some time in Connecticut. That's the only time I've ever even heard of UConn. And that's not to say that they're not relevant.
Of course.
Obviously they're relevant, you know what I mean, and what they've been able to achieve in the last 4 or 5 years. Shout out, they've done a great job. But I think I think Duke has a level of arrogance to them. Agreed. But I think UConn has clearly surpassed that level of arrogance. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even gonna say rightfully so. Like, I'm just like,
I mean,
like, it's crazy, bro. Like, but I mean, they get bragging rights. You know, they get bragging rights. They get bragging rights. They've had a hell of a run. They've had a hell of a run, man. They've had a run,
bro.
But they are the most insignificant. But listen, they are the most insignificant, important program at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like a direct contradiction, but they are so.
No, I hear you.
So significant in what they've done the last 4 or 5 years, but they're so insignificant as far as like we don't care, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, we don't, bro. Like, we don't.
I hear you.
Like, and it's just in the way that they walk around, like, you know, like they shit don't stink. It's like, it's crazy to me, bro. It's crazy to me. But, you know, I guess you get like that when you've been to 3 out of the 4 championships in the last 4 years or something like that. Or whatever I was
talking to a friend of mine just like a week or two ago. We were talking about Hurley, and I was, you know, voicing my thoughts on him and how he manages the program. And what it came down to at the end of the day is you can say what you want when you're winning. I don't have to like it, or even I can't put my own standard of how I would conduct myself on somebody else. And the sooner realistically, that's a life lesson. The sooner we realize that, the better off you'll be in your life. Yeah. But at the same time, like, just because I wouldn't like, when it comes to me, I've always been, my game's gonna show. And anything other than that, if you're not in front of me, I don't care. I don't care what kind of program you're running, because I'm running my program. And if I really am about that life, and I really believe that we are the big dog, and we're the big fish in the pond, I don't care about the little fish. It does not matter. It doesn't make me any never mind, because I'm taking care of what I perceive from Hurley, and he said as much, to be the basketball capital of the world. That's what he's believed that UConn is. And ultimately, I mean, at the end of the day, you say what you want when you popping. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. But I think I think UConn and North Carolina fans are two of the same. And what I mean by that is that I think that their feeling of relevancy
Mm-hmm.
is so attached to Duke that it's insane.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like
Yeah.
anything they do, they have to relate it to Duke. You know what I'm saying? They get an assistant coach. Oh, our assistant coach is better than Duke's, or they get a commitment. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I can't wait till we play Duke, or anything happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Dan Hurley gets a new pair of shades. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he's gonna be wearing those. You know what I mean? Against John Scheyer, and it's just insane, bro. I think that takes so much away from what you are when
I
you
agree
have to
with that.
attach yourself to some other program. It takes so much away from what you are that it's insane. You know what I'm saying? So if you're,
Yeah.
and I've always told, my dad always told me a real king never had to call himself a king. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? So, you know what I mean? If you popping like the way UConn is popping, what are you talking about Duke for? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know what comes with that though. You
You
know what I'm
know what
saying?
it
You
is.
know when you bring up Duke and you attach yourself to Duke, even though you've won the championships 2 years in a row, right? And you've been to 3 of the last 4, right? And Duke hasn't been there in 11 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Even with that being a fact, you still happen to attach yourself to Duke all the time because you know what the standard is. And it's so
That's it.
funny that even though we haven't won a championship in 11 years, like argue that Duke isn't the standard of college basketball. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
they prove it.
I don't know,
And they
man. This is
prove
a
it.
good pod right here though, because we really talking about
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean it's real
Yeah,
because I
for
mean
sure.
ultimately,
You know
right?
what I'm
Like,
saying? So
what like you think about something. I mean, this is the other piece that I didn't have that on my list, but it's important. Is this Amazon Prime deal, right? It's like nobody else is either A is thinking of that, or B has the leverage to be able to negotiate that. Like you see it even now, like you know, Michigan, like what is it? The Big 12 is, or whatever the conference is that they're in, is mad that it wasn't clear with them to even have the game, so they're trying to figure out if they should even play. They can even play the game. Meanwhile, Duke is like, we cleared it with everybody, but like, who gonna check us for real? Because they're negotiating with us directly. You know what I'm saying? And like, nobody else is walking like that. Nobody else is moving like that. And I think it's an example to your point of them being the shark in the water. You know what I'm saying? And them being able to move around even without the championships and even without the Final Fours, or the consistent Final Fours, or not having been won a championship in 11 years or what have you. Um, they can't walk like that. They can't talk like that, and that's unfortunate for them that they have to continue to have little brother energy. You know what I'm saying?
all right, we back. We back after a couple minutes of technical difficulties. But the last thought I think DH was getting out, what we're talking about, as far as, branding and, who's really the standard and whatever the case may be. And we could use the example of the non-conference deal that Duke struck with was it Amazon?
Amazon
Yeah.
Prime.
Yeah, with Amazon Prime. And it's just like that just goes to show, what I mean, Duke moves at the beat of their own drum for the most part. And not just that though, but they are powerful enough. They are the brand. They are the biggest brand in basketball. They are the most elite, program. They are the college gold standard. And like this deal is, really is showing that, you know what I'm saying? Even with, I know the other conferences are, where they threatening to pull their teams out or whatever case may be. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
couldn't be that wouldn't be Duke.
I think Michigan's conference is basically saying, yo, like basically trying to figure out why it wasn't clear with them. And so their threat, I guess the idea is that there might have to be another replacement game if they can't figure it out.
Yeah, that's
That's
little bro.
crazy.
That's
That's
little
low,
bro
bro.
territory. You know what I'm saying?
Because
That's
that's
little
a
bro.
payday. That's a
Yeah,
payday.
for sure. And it is a payday, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, but people, they want to be. too involved with stuff instead of letting sports be sports, man. They want to feel like they want to, they want to drive not only drive the narrative, but they want to control the narrative. They want to control the whole aspect of the deal, the game. They probably want to pick the refs. They probably want to do all of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Probably,
like,
yeah.
man, so they get upset that, that can't happen. That can never be Duke in the ACC. You know what I'm saying? The ACC ain't gonna tell
Nah,
Duke what to do. You know what I'm saying? Duke's gonna do what they do. You know what I'm saying? And it's
yeah.
like, hey, ACC, you either, you good with it, or you ain't good with it, and we don't care. You know what I'm saying? We gonna do what we do anyway. So,
You know
you
what this
know
reminds me of, Pops? It
what?
reminds me, I think this was 2 years ago, the first time that Shire and them went to Chicago.
Hmm.
And they wanted to do a special NIL event that was only for Duke
Yeah,
and for the players, right? And how I guess the whoever the powers are, whether it be I don't think it was the ACC, but I think it was like the NCAA. Basically, was like, nah, let's nix that. This
yeah,
feels like that in the sense of, but in this case, Duke went ahead and got the front end approvals because they worked with the ACC to get it done because they figured if it's not an ACC game, they don't have jurisdiction, and they also
hmm,
worked with the league and said, hey, or they work with ESPN because they have the media rights, and they said, okay, ESPN, cool, like we'll do two more of your games in the next 2 years if you give us
yeah,
this, right?
yeah,
Which in a world where the NCAA doesn't have the leadership that it should to be able to make fair and unified rules across the entire division, like Division One or college basketball as general.
yeah,
Teams are just out here trying to figure out for themselves. The difference is Duke just has the brand to be able to just do shit that other nobody else can do, no matter how many Final Fours you go to. And I mean, I guess in the sense of the kind of return to our original conversation, it's like that's the tough part about being other teams. You can win national championships and still have to get humbled by your conference and still be in arguments with your conference. You can be in three Final Fours, win two of the last four national championships, and have nowhere near the brand development that Duke is going to have, and therefore none of the cachet. Your players don't want, like your players. I mean, this year, like Terrence Reed might do something, you know what I'm saying? But like your Caravan might do something, you know what I'm saying? But like you don't have the NBA cachet to lean on either.
yeah,
And so like when I think about this game though, like switching gears, think about the game itself, right? For whatever this might mean for Duke. Um, let's focus on Duke. What do you think that this game with UConn, and then we can pivot to the Illinois game with all the preseason buzz that Illinois is getting for their roster construction, those other things. Many folks have them in their top, you know, 2, 3 teams in the country going into next year. What do you think is the benefit for Duke playing these games when it's going to be different? I imagine it'll be different for this group than it was for last year's group because this group has the experience. But like, what things do you
yeah.
think it's able that this game will mean? These two games in particular will mean for Duke going into next year potentially.
Um, I don't know, man. I think it's just another game. It's just one of those games that that you're scheduled for bragging rights. I don't know if it'll help either team. And I guess it just depends on, what we're looking like at the time and, what they're looking like at the time. Maybe on that
Right.
might help with seeding and stuff like that later. But early on, I don't know, because that game is going, what is it, like November, December?
I think so. Let me take a look.
Yeah, so like that shit is so early that it really ain't gonna matter, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it could play something, into the mind and the psyche for later, but I don't know, man. I don't think that that's really gonna mean anything. This game really not. It's more for the fans, in my opinion. If we win, we're just gonna talk major trash to
I
UConn
mean, for
fans.
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's my
If
birthday
UConn
week.
wins, yeah, if
That game's my
UConn
birthday
wins,
week. That's
yeah, if
lit.
UConn wins, they'll talk major trash, and that's pretty much it. Because it really
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything unless we playing each other in a tournament. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a
And I
piece of
mean,
it.
yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Playing a tough schedule, and I'm all down for it. Like, hey, look, we want to play the best, so let's play the best. I just don't think that UConn will be the best next year. You know what I mean? I don't think they'll be anywhere close to being the best. So it is what it is. But it's a new year, new day. Um,
Yeah.
It'll be a bragging rights game. I think that's about
Yeah.
all. that you could take from out of that. But
Yeah.
no,
I mean, we
nah.
got, just to recap, we got UConn on November 25th in Vegas, which will be my birthday week because my birthday's on the 29th.
Okay,
We got the Michigan game in Madison Square on December 21st.
so we playing
Um,
Gonzaga in Detroit.
and the Gonzaga's in Detroit. Yeah. On
Wow.
and that's the February game.
Yeah, and it's
And
crazy
all three of
because
those on Amazon Prime.
like between Gonzaga, UConn, and Michigan. I mean, I actually know a couple Michigan fans, but like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't. I just know
Shout out to
I
Ant,
don't.
right?
Yeah, like and you can kiss my ass, but still love you, still
For
love you.
sure. Friend
But
of the pod.
I just don't. I don't think that. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know why we're playing Gonzaga, bro. I really don't know why we're playing Gonzaga.
I
You know what I'm
mean,
saying?
but they're changing conferences, right? Like they're going to be in their new conference by next year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Um, and so I mean, like the idea, like the same way that we put Texas on the list last year, and we thought that Texas was gonna. I mean, they ended up making a Sweet 16, right? Like so, they weren't
yeah,
scrubs, but they also weren't. I think when folks started the year, I think folks would assume that Texas would have been better than they ended up being. And
yeah,
so all of this is, hoping that teams will be good. And there's quality coaching, quality non-conference opponents that you can sharpen your teeth against over the course of a year. I think the other
yeah,
piece of this, whereas last year, I think this team one of the needs that this team had, at least at the beginning of the year, the year was they needed opportunities to grow quickly because they
yeah.
didn't have the quality
Sure.
experience and the returners to be able to do that. I think, and
Sure.
that's why I asked the question of, because this year it'll be different. Like they're going to have guys that have been in incredible environments, played major minutes, taken crazy roles, been in tournament games with consequence, been in those big games the previous year. And you have Blackwell who's on the way in, who has been in those big games in his conference. So a lot of the freshmen who would have been relied upon in previous years for Duke are going to be taking different roles that may not necessarily mean they have to be the guy immediately
Yeah.
in November and December. Now, February, Gonzaga, we can have that conversation, right? But so that's why I ask is, yes, it'll help the team grow and develop together, right? Which is the other piece of this, is doing difficult things together as a group, as a unit, to be able to build your camaraderie for the team. But I don't know if it serves the same purpose that it did last year. That's why I want to get your thoughts on what it might be able to give. And from what I'm hearing you say is, it might have some seating implications, but ultimately it's kind of like fan service for Duke to be able to play these high profile games. It's a payday for all involved. And ultimately it's another game you play in the midst of
Yeah.
I'm sure will be a still improved ACC season.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I recant a little bit of what I'm saying or whatever. I mean, I get it. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's 2 different years that we're talking about as far as last year and this year, as far as,
Sure.
um, the whole idea of it all. Because I think last year was more about maturation and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. More so, I think it's this year. I think it's about chemistry. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
about building chemistry and the camaraderie is going to be there. You know what I'm saying? I don't worry about that part, but I think it's about
Right.
building chemistry faster than anything. Is
Yeah.
what John is hoping for. I think that's why maybe some of this stuff is scheduled the way it's scheduled. Um, and John he just don't run from hard shit. You know what I'm saying? He just
Yeah.
pause. You know what I'm saying? He's just like, yo, see what I'm saying? It's a tough game. All right, let's play it. You know what I'm saying? I think that he's really, okay with doing that. So I think that's part of it. But ultimately I think for this team, I think it's more about chemistry. I think that he's really wanting them to gel fast. So he's gonna schedule
Yeah.
some hard shit so they can gel fast. You know what I'm saying? He wants to see, how good they can actually be. Maybe he's trying
Yeah.
to see what the ceiling for this team really is. You know what I'm saying? Like if he's gonna, schedule the way he's scheduling.
You know what it'll also do, Pablo, now that I'm thinking about it, is if one of the big questions that John's going to have to answer is rotation and
Mhm.
role definition.
Yes.
I think these types of games, particularly the early ones, like you'll have Michigan State, I think, for the Champions Classic. You're going to have UConn and Illinois. I think the Illinois game is December some. Let me double check so I don't lie to the people. Um,
And we still got the ACC, SEC, ACT challenge. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
so matter of fact,
I just
December
don't know who
4th,
we got.
shout out to Jay-Z. At State Farm Arena, they got Illinois. Actually, no, I'm lying. Yeah, that's 27. 26 they're at Cameron Indoor, and that's November 17th.
I'm saying State Farm
So
Arena that's
no,
in
that's
Atlanta, right?
yeah. No, State Farm, I think, is the Illinois arena. That's going to be the following. It's a home and home. So that'll be the
Oh, okay.
2077 location. My apologies, but again, that's another early season test, right? And so it just gives Shard the opportunity to see pretty quickly who's a gamer, who's not, who performs under the lights, who doesn't, how are they. I mean, as a coach, right? You coached, like who's able to translate what your
For sure.
priorities are from practice into an incredibly high
And hostile environment.
consequence,
Yeah.
yeah, hostile environment, or even just like a high caliber basketball game early in the year. Like
For sure.
who do you determine who can translate the scout really well, who can have attention to detail, who's gonna do the little things to box out, who's gonna do us ask of them, who is gonna, you know what I'm saying, like who is
Absolutely.
going to. And I think those things that you find out in the course of a fire like a Illinois game or a um, Michigan State game um, or a UConn game will be able to help you when it comes to conference play, because you understand and you also know where to, like, like one thing that John is starting to do consistently is let's measure our team against other quality teams.
Yeah,
And a
for
lot of
sure.
times, in a world where the ACC might be top heavy again this year, and the top 4 or 5 teams might be really, really good, the middle might be kind of and then the bottom is going to still be the bottom. Um, as you're looking to build a roster and a team that's ready for March and April, hopefully, being able to understand those things as quickly as possible so that your practices can be more focused, and you can use things like your Christmas break and all those things to be able to develop those things. I think this helps that tremendously. And then if you're looking for a number one seed and to have, the seeding and the location implications and all of that, um,
Hmm.
I think that it is certainly a consequence for that. It certainly helps in that effort as well.
Yeah, nah, for sure. I'm definitely with you on that. And I think maybe some of this too is I think John is stepping into uncharted territory, you know what I mean? And something
Mm,
that he's really never, seen or had to do or have to coach. And that's like extreme amount of depth. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, like you're saying, maybe he does want to, shore up these rotations and everything else. So, he can do it on the early end, on the early side, instead of worrying about it late and, know who he can rely on, when we're up 19 against somebody and, we need to keep our foot on the
Hmm.
gas or whatever and just bury them or whatever the case may be. So I think John is he's just doing a good job of just trying to cover every base that he could possibly cover at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he knows he's right there. He's
Yeah.
right there. He's right at the crest of the hill, bro. He just needs to get over the
Yeah.
top of it to get to the pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? So I
100%.
think that's really something that's driving him, and we already know he's a driven individual. But I think that's driving him. You know what I mean? With some of these decisions that he's just like, yo, I'm covering everything, from assistant coaches to depth to camaraderie to
Yeah.
character to everything, transfer portal, recruits, everything. I'm
Yeah.
over recruiting, you know what I'm saying? I'm over
Yeah.
recruiting and
Conditioning.
still, yeah,
Yep.
it's over recruiting and still retaining talent. Just he's doing it all, bro. He's like, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Yeah.
like right there and I want to get to the top very bad. So I'm gonna go to the extremes. I mean, I think these are the extremes of John Shire that we're seeing now. So, it's I think it only could bode well for Duke, man. All in all, in the end, I think it's only going to benefit. You know what I'm saying? I think the program is really going to benefit from his extremes. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens, man. But I'm very encouraged by what I see, and how he's moving. I'm very, very encouraged. You know, so
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess, I mean, one of the parts that you just mentioned was assistant coaching. And, as we all well know, we had Evan Braz that We swapped out Evan Brads for Drew Sarnowski, so I guess we'll deal with that. We'll take that.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anything. I'm not sure if you have or not, but kind of what are your thoughts as far as where you think John is looking
Mhm.
for an assistant, like for an assistant coach to fill Evan Brad's spot, and then also um, what types of skill sets do you think that this assistant coach needs to have for this team, and then what Shire's trying to build moving forward?
I think anytime, my opinion, just my opinion. I just think anytime you lose somebody like Evan Brands who came from the NBA, is you need to replace from the NBA. You know what I'm saying? If you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna you lose somebody who came from the NBA, replace them with somebody else that's gonna be coming from the NBA. I just think that the continuity would just be a little bit better if you did that, because if you was to
Mm-hmm.
replace him with a college coach who's not high as a level as an NBA coach, obviously, even if it's an assistant or high level assistant or whatever the case may be, a film guy or something, they're doing it at the pinnacle of where you
Yeah.
can do it at. So I'm not going to replace a machine gun with a handgun. You know what I'm
Fair.
saying? I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to get a bigger fucking machine gun. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm going to do.
Word. I
You
agree
know,
with you.
and
If
it
there
might
are any
have,
available,
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing though about, and that's the best thing about the whole thing about that is that that's the best thing about, like, NBA coaches being available. Somebody's always available,
that's true.
always available. You know what I'm saying? Because these guys are always looking to level up and stuff. And I think, you're not gonna see, like, you ain't gonna see it too many times where you see somebody come from the NBA and go coach at, I mean, I don't want to throw no schools under the bus, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? At a
Yeah.
lower level school, they're gonna go to,
Right.
the Dukes. You know what I'm saying? The Kansases and things like that. That's where they're gonna go. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
like it's almost equal footing. You know what I'm saying? It's not quite equal
Yeah.
footing, but it's almost equal footing. So I just think that it's a good thing that we have this problem at Duke. I know some people even get annoyed with that. Oh, we just got Evan Bradds. He was so good, and now we lost him. Man, shut up. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what's
Let
supposed to
John.
happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Let
That's
John
what's
do his
supposed to
thing.
happen.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can see a world too that what's the name comes back? He's with the Celtics now. Our old center,
Emil Jefferson.
Emil Jefferson. I see a world that maybe he comes back to Duke in some kind of capacity, maybe in the next few years. I think that
Okay.
can definitely happen. Because I know he's getting a very, very, very good lesson over there at Boston, and he's learning
Yeah.
a lot. And they say that he's getting starting to be very high level. So I know his coaching journey is going well, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. Maybe we could see him
Maybe.
come back one
Yeah.
day.
Maybe J Rob. I mean, J Rob just got a job with the Lakers.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure he probably wants to get more experience at that level in player development before he comes back and like really gets fully into the coaching bag. But I think about guys like because I also think that John has a nice balance between wanting to get young coaches that have a fresh perspective on the game and the
yeah,
modern game, and also getting guys who have experience, right? So you bring in, you got Shragi on one, like he's not a coach, but like he's his coaching perspective is
hmm
definitely valuable to John, right?
hmm
You got Sewell, who's his right hand man, right? Then you got Tyler Thornton, who's kind of been who's young enough, but it's been through. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? He's like the kind of the Nolan Smith kind of era of
hmm
guys who have significant coaching experience at a pretty high level. That's going to be kind of just preparing himself for the head coaching job. And then you had Brad's who has extensive experience in the league, but wants to get in the actual coaching side. And then he had his dream offer kind of, you know, pop up.
fall into his lap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, and then you can't say again, like we talked about earlier, when you have your dreams and they unfold in a way that's a little different than your timeline, you still got to step up, and be ready.
yeah, sure.
And so I'm similar to you. Like I think there was a lot of value to having Brads in the program. Not that Duke ever lacked for preparation for the league by any means, but this was an additional thing. It was like an additional feather in their cap to be able to know that they had an NBA guy who did that for a living,
Yeah.
be able to impart that at the college level.
So
But
if you had, not to cut you off, but if you had
no,
a
go ahead.
name, you had a name to throw out there. So I got a name. You know what I'm saying? Who I would like to see. But if you had a name to throw out there, who would you like to see fill that assistant coach role?
Um,
Not to put you on the spot or anything, but
yeah,
you
it's
on the spot.
difficult. Yeah, word. I think Emil would be my number one
Yeah, that's fair.
if he was interested in like his. I mean, he has a young family and he moved to Philly and all that kind of stuff. But like if he fit into his like family dynamic and everything, I think having Emil back because he's young enough, he's got a championship ring. He's young in his career. He's able to relate really well. He's probably going to be a beast on the recruiting trail. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Um, and he has the ability to speak to, yo, I coach a lot of y'all's favorite player.
Yeah.
I coach JT. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Sure.
you know, and he also has a rapport with John that is undeniable. So they have that coaching synergy as well.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Mill back. I think if there was more if there was more experience there, I would love to see Quinn back as well. But
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
Quinn needs a little bit more. But I would have to like shift some guys. Like I would move some guys up and then let Quinn be. Maybe you move Jace McCain up and then you put Quinn there,
Yeah.
or like something like that. Because I think Quinn has the mind and the rapport for it. I don't think he has the experience for it yet.
Yeah.
Um, but that's why Emil would be the best of both worlds in my opinion. So I agree
Yeah.
with you on the Emil piece. J Rob, I think he needs a little bit to get his feet a little bit more wet in the league, but I'd love to see him back as well because he absolutely has the pedigree and he's starting to get the experience. I think he needs a couple more years to get really some talent underneath him before he kind of returns to coaching somewhere wherever that might be. But yeah, I love the Emil suggestion, so I'm gonna roll with that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Um, Shit. No, I feel you on that. If I had my selection of my piece, not only because I know him and I think he's a great individual, but I would go with Austin Pope. He's the
Oh,
South
that's your
Bay
guy.
Lakers coach. Yeah, South Bay
Yeah,
Lakers coach. Um, coached at uh coached at University of Kentucky.
yeah,
Did his thing
yeah,
over there. I
definitely.
think he was a grad assistant over there in Kentucky. I mean, he's just a sharp dude, man.
Sure, I'll say he's
Intelligent.
a sharp
You
guy.
know what I mean? Really
Word.
sharp. Really good. You know what I mean? Has the whole NBA playbook in his mind. You know what I mean? Just very, very sharp, man. When you're talking X to the nose.
That's the other part, Pablo. It's the because Brad's was in a lot of cases the offensive coordinator of
Yeah.
Duke last year.
Hmm.
Having an offensive minded coach, especially as you talked about all this talent and this depth of talent, and being able to utilize guys in ways that accentuate their skill sets and their strengths. I think that's a really good point.
And that's why I think, you don't replace a machine gun with a pistol. You know what I'm saying? That's why
Facts.
I think you
Facts.
go, NBA to NBA. You know what I'm saying? That's just I think it's just helpful like that because these guys understand at a very high level on how to use individuals. You know what I'm saying? On the court. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Offensively and defensively. They understand concepts, they understand schemes, they understand game planning, they understand how to beat game plans, they understand how to formulate a game plan. To beat a
Hmm.
certain team, they understand coaching strategies. They understand it all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's why I think that's one of those things, man, that you know, a lot of teams fumble on, you know what I mean? Instead of, going with the big dog, they hire their homeboy, you know what I'm saying? Their homeboy
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
working at H&R Block, you know what I'm saying, 2 weeks ago. Now now they got a little synergy access and now they thinking that they, you know what I'm saying, instead of becoming a
Word.
fucking Red Auerbach or Red what's the name?
Red
Red
Autry.
No, not Red Autry. Oh, Celtics coach, man. All some whatever. Anyway, but they
Armac.
thinking they nah,
Red
yeah, yeah,
Armac.
yeah, 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 yeah. And that's the thing, you know what I'm saying? And that's how, you know what I'm saying? Like that's where nepotism backfires, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go hire my boy, you know what I'm saying? Because he did my taxes, so I know he nice with the numbers. You know what I'm saying? He nice with the numbers. So he
He
gotta
nice
be
with the
able to draw up
numbers.
a he gotta be able to draw up an offensive scheme. He gotta be able to.
Right, got to,
You know
man.
what
He
I'm
understand. He
saying?
understands. Yeah, notice
Real
those
talk.
numbers,
He,
man.
you know what I'm saying? My boy, he did
Transferable
my
skills.
taxes. You know what I'm saying? He was nice as hell on NBA Jam. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
He gotta be able to do something with this playbook. No,
got
he
to.
can't. You know what I'm saying? Go get you a big gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Stop playing games. Go get you a big gun and then let it rock. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and the thing about Shire is Shire doesn't hire people who are unqualified. Like when he keeps the incredibly highly qualified people around
Mhm.
him, and he also has an eye for talent, whether it be talent on the court or talent on the boards.
Mhm.
He understands. I mean, it's evident. Like I mean, two of his coaches have gone on to do head coaching gigs, right? And he's just been
Yeah.
here for this will be his fifth year, right? So he's got an eye for talent, and I think much like the roster kind of played out, this is a lesser kind of talked about part of this, but I did want to kind of get your thoughts and feelings about um, what Shire might be thinking as far as this assistant coaching hire, and I think wisely, right? He got his roster together first
Mhm.
because I think the ability to navigate this team and to be able to showcase your skill set from a coaching perspective with this team is going to be really important. And that that continuity, right? That continuity of that personality continuity of
Yeah.
Brad's was, it seems like he was able to relate to the teams in a way that was really beneficial for the team. Being
Yeah.
able to hire the right personality to lead your team is really important as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
That's a
think
great point.
getting your roster together first then helps inform. Like if you have interviews, you can say, okay, bet we got what's your approach to developing boom shay from what you've seen, right? You can have that in the interview
Yeah.
setting and be able to speak to it without it being like hypothetical. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Nah, facts. Nah, that makes sense though, man. You bring up some man, we cooking on this podcast, bro. We cooking. So if y'all watching, y'all might have to start paying for this type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because we doing our thing. But that makes that you damn hit the nail on the head, man. And I think that's one of the other things that's so good about John is that he understands what it is as far as, when it comes to hiring and stuff. Like I said, he ain't gonna go hire his homeboy. He gonna hire
right.
somebody that's young enough to stand in these people's living rooms and tell them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, since their son is so elite, this is how I can make him better. This is how I'm gonna get
Mm-hmm.
him to be able to reach his goals. You know what I'm saying? These guys are young enough to do that because he ain't gonna hire, some grandpa, you know what I'm saying, that
Right.
just want to go hunting, you know what I mean, the next, three months. You know what I'm saying? You talking about,
Word.
this how you go bird hunting. Man, ain't nobody trying to hear that shit. You know what I'm
Trying to
saying?
hear that.
Yeah, it's like, how
Everyone
can
trying
you
to hear
get my
that.
son to the next level? Like, what can you do for my son? Because that's what it's all about, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what
It is.
recruiting is all about. What can you do for them? You know what I'm saying? It's not about the school and the program anymore, but what can you do for them? Why should they go to your school? You know what I'm saying? And if you sitting there
100%.
about as old as Joe Biden, like, what are you gonna say? You know what I'm saying?
Word. And then on top of that too, right? I mean, AC has talked about that in different ways. Like Duke is the Harvard Law School of basketball.
For
In that
real.
if you want to be a basketball, like yes, you can get wonderful degrees and have a wonderful career in law, not going to Harvard Law School or Howard Law School or something like that. But at the same time, like if you want to be a lawyer, that's the aspirational place that you're looking at. And I think Duke
Mhm.
is in a similar way. So much like you got your kid and you evaluating schools and you're looking at majors. Basketball is the major because basketball is what's going to prepare basketball. That major is going to be what prepares you for whatever the next level is going to be. And so if
Fact.
basketball is your major, the faculty and the staff has to be right to help facilitate that. And your coaching
Exactly.
staff is the faculty and the staff, right? And so if they sit in my living room, it's the same thing you go on campus tours for. It's the same thing that when you got your kid that wants to go to engineering or you want to go to, agriculture studies or whatever the thing is, you got certain schools that are made for that. And Duke is just made for basketball players. And
Yeah.
so picking the right guy to be on that staff is critically important to that. Critically
Yeah.
important to that.
Yeah. And I just think that, they have it. They have it down pat. John Scheyer has it down pat. He's not going to sit there and tell you that, you're going to play, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. He's probably telling you, you have a great chance to be successful here if you work your ass off. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
That's what it come down to. I'm not promising you a damn thing. You know what I
And
mean?
you'll
And I
have
think that's
you'll
where
have a chance, and you'll have a chance to compete for a national championship, and
exactly.
every single game that you play will be on television. That's
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And I think the straightforward approach and the truth is what people want to hear. Nobody wants to, hear that shit like, oh yeah, we're the University of such and such, we do this, we do that. Okay, that's cool, but what are you going to do for me? You know what I'm saying? How are
Mm-hmm.
you going to make my life better once the ball stop bouncing? That's what it's all
Facts.
about. You know what I'm saying? Because, I could go to your school and do what I do, but if you forget about me as soon as I leave your school, what's the point? You know what I'm
What's the
saying?
point?
That's why
Mm-hmm.
people come back to Duke. They come back. Alumni come back. They do camps. They visit. They hang out. You know what I mean? They help
Mm-hmm.
you recruit the next set of kids. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's just a different level at Duke, bro. And it's very obvious. It's very apparent. A lot of people want to deny it, but when we beating everybody's ass in recruiting, I mean, it's just
Something works
shit is the proof is in the pudding, bro. So
every
you know,
time.
at the end
Every
of the day,
time.
that's what it is, man.
All right, so we had an hour. We'll do this quick piece before we get out of here. Speaking of the league and preparing you, one of the things you brought up in the group chat that is starting to bear out. You said this a week ago, so I want to give Pablo credit because Pablo has been on the front end of this before the national narrative or the NBA narrative is starting to shift. But what made you say to the group chat a week and a half ago, not to be surprised if there's a scenario where Cam Boozer goes number one overall? What made you say that? And is that now that things are starting to come up, rumbles are starting to come up of trades and how much better Cam is performing and measurables are being better than typical, and he's got a 7'2" wingspan, he has a faster freaking shuttle run and all this stuff now.
Yeah.
What made you say that, and then what is your thoughts on draft guys and destinations?
Well, at the end of the day, shout out to the draft guys. Y'all always be stealing my shit. But, it's all good. You know what I mean? At the end of the
Word.
day, at the end of the day, I mean, I just think that he's just the safest pick, man. Like, I mean, I just sit here and I watch these NBA games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the playoffs. I sit here and watch these NBA games and I see how scheme heavy, things are in the NBA, bro. It's all about scheme, bro. Like they have a
Mm-hmm.
scheme for everything, bro.
Everything. Yep.
Like literally for everything. They have a scheme that can take you completely out of a game, right? And it's all about how you adapt as a player because
Mm-hmm.
the coach isn't on the floor with you. He can't tell you to, catch the ball in the block. The double team is coming from the baseline after two dribbles, and you got a 45-degree pass that's going to be wide open every single time. He can see that and he can tell you that
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's going to be. But as far as like how fast it is,
Yeah.
he
You
can't
got to do
teach you
it.
that. You know what I'm saying? You have to
Mm-hmm.
do it. And so, from a standpoint of processing the game, knowing the game already at a high level, you know what I mean, just from a knee high to fucking an adult now, dominating college basketball. Like that's Cam Boozer, bro. Like you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
tell him these things. It's already happening for him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He understands schemes, scouting reports, how you gonna try to take him out the game. He understands, counters. Do I need to go fast here? Do I need to go slow here? What do I need to do to beat this defense or make my team better? It's not about all about scoring and shit like that. It's not about
Mm-hmm.
can I catch this lob on you? Can I windmill on you on a fast break? Am I faster than you here or there? He understands. I think Cam Boozer understands his limitations better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think he understands the game better than any player that's coming through college right now.
I
You
agree with that.
know, I think he's suited for the modern game that's being played right now. Obviously, they knew he already was an awesome player. You know what I mean? He's going to
Right.
stretch the floor, shooting wise and all that stuff. That's him. You know what I mean? He got all that in his bag, but I just think that, you know, it's just a no-brainer, bro. Like, you want to win, you go with Cam Boozer. Because I think about it, like these other guys are great. Like the guys who they
Yeah.
project to go in front of them.
Absolutely.
AJ and Darren, shout out to those kids. Unbelievable
100%.
talents, unbelievable kids. You know what I'm saying? But are they winners?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I think that is the biggest misnomer in the draft possible, bro. Like, being
Winning's
a
a
winner.
skill.
It's a
Winning's a
skill.
skill.
It's a
It's a
true
skill.
skill, bro. It's a true skill. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, bro, you know what I mean? It's just a no brainer to me. You know what I'm saying? I think he would. Who got the number one pick? Utah.
Yes.
I mean, on top of that, his pops is a scout at Utah. I think there's going to be a real discussion about that, and I think that Utah is going to have a real come to Jesus moment where they sit there and they're going to be looking in the mirror like, "Damn, what do we do here?"
Nope. It's the Wizards. Wizards
Wizards,
first,
the
Utah
Wizards.
second,
Okay,
and
the
Memphis
Wizards.
third.
Okay, so well, if that's the case, then boom, I see a world to where Cam Boozer is going to go two. Then
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? Definitely two. I would say that he's definitely going to be the number two draft pick in the NBA this year for sure.
Well, here's my question, right? Because like there'll be like, I mean, I'm not as tapped into the NBA as some other folks, but there have been folks that have been saying that like the Wizards have, I think it was the Wizards that have like had their eye on Cam for a while now. And that
Sure.
in the situation like that, they trade some assets to a different team to move down to get Boozer at 3 or Boozer at 2, and they trade with Utah or Memphis if they have assets to be able to trade for that spot.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, ultimately, I don't give a damn what order. That's my alarm to get my kids. I don't give a fuck what order you're drafting in. It's about how you play.
Absolutely.
Get on the court and hoop. Go
That's
hoop.
a fact. That's what it's all about, bro. That's what it's oops. That's what it's all about, bro. You know what I'm saying? And just get on the floor and hoop. And at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Because none of that other shit gonna matter. You know what I mean? So all the stuff that they trying to drive these narrative as, like, oh, put them with a bigger player, put them with this, put them with that. Just put them on the floor.
Put them on the
how about
floor.
how about that? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just put them on the floor and let them figure it out. And if I had to put my money on the three, I'm going to go with Boozer. Not because I'm a Duke fan, but because of the way he processes the game, the way he, approaches the game, the way he applies the skill to whatever's going on in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And the way a coach can use him in a game. You know what I mean? He's the most plug and play player in the NBA draft, period. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Straight up. You can put him
He
around
immediately.
anywhere. You can put him
Yep.
around four dead bodies. He's gonna make those dead bodies. They might rise from the dead, and they're gonna
Right.
fucking get a double double based off of his play. Straight up,
Word.
bro. Straight
No, that's
up.
real. And also, like, I think from a scouting perspective, right? Both of us are scouts. One thing that I noticed about Cam this year that I didn't necessarily see from Darren or necessarily AJ is that um Cam had to figure out how to struggle and still be effective
For sure.
in a way that I think that like Darren struggled, but like his team, in a lot of ways were low key better without him in the lineup because of the continuity piece.
Yeah.
AJ didn't, his usage was high enough, but it wasn't until after Richie Saunders went out that he became option 1A and 1B. And
Yeah.
we can argue the results of that. You know what I'm saying? Of how much better his team was with him as option 1A and 1B.
For
With
sure. For sure.
Cam, he was options 1A through 35C in a lot of cases as far as usage goes, and he struggled. Like there were moments where he got doubled with length. He had to go against Visar and Cam on doubles. He got doubled on dribble. He got doubled on the catch. He got, people shrunk the floor. They made him shoot. They made him dribble. They did all those things, and he still was the most incredibly productive player in the last 2 years because he was more productive than Coop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
By
so and
far.
so in the last 2 years, he was probably the most productive player we've seen in the last 2 years, regardless of class. And
Yeah.
so, I think that as a scout, I'm saying, okay, if I'm dealing with a rookie who's having to figure out the speed of the NBA, the spacing of the NBA, how to find their spot, how to process the game, how to shorten that learning curve, and I'm looking at all three of these guys' careers, I'm like, if I'm looking at Cam, I'm like, Cam has the most professional approach to his development out of three.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah. For sure, bro. I definitely agree with that, and I just think that you know, like those reasons that you just stated is all the reasons why he goes one or two for sure.
I
Because
can see it.
after all that stuff, after all this game planning and all the stuff that he can't do is what you heard all year, you
Mm-hmm.
know, they still went 35-3. You know what I'm saying? With National Player of the Year. You know what I'm saying? and it's just like, bro, like it just there are a
What you want him to
couple.
do?
Yeah, they're a couple bad plays away from going
Yeah,
to a Final Four, to a championship, to winning a
likely.
championship. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, what are we talking about here, bro? I don't know, bro. I think it's just a no brainer. But this is why we see why these teams um, in the NBA, they change a general manager about every other
Mm-hmm.
week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they don't know what the hell they be doing sometimes, bro. They just be like, you know what I'm saying? Hey, we're gonna draft this guy. Then, you know what I'm saying, they draft the best player, right? The best player gets tired of playing there because they haven't
Mm-hmm.
been able to, build around him. He gets tired of playing there, then he gets traded, or he just has a bad attitude and you trade him anyway because, you start to say he's a cancer, similar to like a Trey
Yeah.
Young, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
He's a cancer or whatever case may be, so let's trade him, and it's just, and my thing is like, I would be like, who do you think Trey Young wants to play with?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
who do you think Trey Young wants to play with? Probably the guy that's going to set the most elite screens and roll and make the plays. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That will be conducive to winning, other than play with the guys that if they're setting screens and they get the ball, that motherfucker going up to the rim. It's a
Yep.
field goal. It's a field goal attempt for them.
It's a
Ain't
field goal
nobody else
attempt. Yep.
touching the ball. You know what I mean? And not to say that they're ball hogs or anything, but I think it's just a no. At this point, bro, I really believe that it's a no brainer, bro. It just don't make any sense
Yeah.
for what I'm saying, anybody to, do anything else other than take Cam as first or second, bro. Like, I mean,
I
it's
can
just a
see
no
it.
brainer.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hot take. I will say that I think Duke is in good hands. I think Scheyer is doing an incredible job, not just in having transparent conversations with the team with regard to the Blackwell stuff, and but also kind of addressing the coaching needs and scheduling and all those things. It's a great time to be a Duke fan, man.
Sir.
Before we get out of here, Pablo, any final thoughts, or you got the
Um,
last word, brother?
uh, just go Duke. Expect some big things this year to come. If you're not a Duke fan or if you cheer for another team, then I mean, I really don't care. I really don't like you that much, but you know, I'm not opposed to going to watch you play. You know what I'm saying? Because
Word.
I like basketball. I love basketball, and I'll watch anybody play. But I mean, I won't be cheering for anybody but Duke. That's for
That's
sure.
it.
So go Duke, and I hope everybody else is not successful.
Correct. Correct. On that note, catch y'all next time on the 5 Point Play podcast. There'll be we got coaches corners coming up. We got player profiles coming up. It's going to be a busy summer for the guys. But Pablo, I appreciate your time as always, my friend.
That's my brother. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Yes, indeed. Go Duke.
Go Duke.